Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Nordwing Gaming. My name is Dr. Sid, here with Pachi and DK, about to bring you some amazing PUBG action from Erangel, Sanhok, and Miramar. Yes, it was an angle of PUBG I was thinking about, and then just got my words all muddled up. Hey guys, how's your weekend going? We had an amazing game last night, and I'm happy to be back with you guys again to bring these people some action. DK, what did you get up to yesterday?
Yesterday was casting some other tournaments, also in the PUBG action, but of course super excited to get into today to see exactly what the teams are going to be doing, because I mean, looking at what we saw yesterday, it was looking pretty spicy. Finally saw that strong performance coming in from Gun across all three games yesterday.
Yep, Gun definitely brought it yesterday, and I'm hoping, as always, that Citizens Gaming brings it today. Pachi, any hope for Citizens Gaming or any other teams that are nibbling at the bottom?
Well, yeah, so, I mean, obviously, we'll, just for you, we'll keep an eye on Citizens. We'll see what they can do. Maybe your stern talkings, too, will get them to get some performance in here. You just make sure you keep them in shape. Yeah, just give them a stern talking to and keep them in shape, and they'll get those performances going.
I will try. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a very quick look at the prize pool for the Umzansi Esports League Season 3.
Yeah, well, there it is.
$17,500. I wish I could play PUBG right now and just take the whole 15,000 for myself and leave the guys in FIFA with the 2,500. It is amazing because the action that we've had has shaking up the leaderboard so much. Let's take a look at what the overall leaderboard is looking at right now before we get into the games today.
Yeah, let's jump into this. Gun, of course, sitting at the top with that absolutely stellar performance. Those back-to-back chickens, the kills. 141 points is where they're sitting at the moment, followed by Slime4KT with 101. G3 Tampa managed to bump themselves up to the third place with 99 points. Their Undisputed AE trail them behind with 89 in fourth position. Rain from Hell in fifth with 86. Immortalz with 74 in sixth place. Aphelion Apex in seventh place with 72. And Sincerity in eighth position with 71. That's actually a team that I'm quite interested to see sitting up in that position there, Sincerity.
This is hot. Oh yeah, there we go. Natural killers. DK, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just
all good. All as you can see, Natural Killers sitting up in ninth place, also on 71 points. Of course, the players from Lag Esports over in 10th on 66. Zero Tolerance sitting in 11th place on 63 points. The Comfy Cartel over in 12th place there on 58. Then, of course, Spaza 6 in 13th on 57. But then we have three teams sitting on 54 points. That, of course, being the players from Ultra 6 in 14th, NFxUNIQUE in 15th, and the Drogons over in 16th place. So really looking tough on this leaderboard.
Yeah. Things are looking pretty close here. Of course, moving on to the next page, we've got Pain Africa, 17th position with 51 points. 50 points following very closely behind is Influence Rage Africa. Then we've got BBC in that 49 points in the 19th position. Black Clover in 20th with 46. And then 39 apiece is Outsiders Official and Fear in 21 and 22 respectively. 36 points in Citizens Gaming in 23rd position. And then in 24th, we've got Rainbow Six Madagascar with 35 points. So also looking pretty close on that particular page.
100%. But of course, this page is the page where you do not want your name to be. This is the page you want to try and get your butt off of. As you can see, of course, the players there from Young Thunder over in 25th on 24. We got the Euphoric Gods in 26. They're on 27 points. The players from Not Gaming in 27th on 25 points. We got Nibble on 28th place with 22 points. We got Toxic Esports in 29th there on 20 points. And then, of course, sadly, we see the players from Blank Legion sitting in 30th place with only 10 points.
And it is so scary, and these points are determined by the point structure. Pachi, talk us through this point structure.
Yeah, so actually, as I was touching on yesterday about this particular point structure, it is very much encouraging of aggression and also of very strategic play. Because in first place, you're going to get 15 points. Second place, you're going to get 12. Third, you're going to get 10. Fourth place, you're going to get 8 points. Fifth place, you're going to get 6. In sixth place, you'll get 4. Seventh will give you 2. Anything between 8 and 12 will give you 1. But 13 to 16 is going to give you nothing. And then, of course, it's 1 kill, 1 point, which means that, of course, every kill matters. Every single kill matters. And we can see that every single time, every game, that the teams that are getting those kills are able to absolutely smash that leaderboard. But, of course, now with the fact that 13 to 16 position gives you nothing, means that you also have to make sure that you are very, very precise and strategic about your play. And I was chatting about this with Esproxy yesterday, and I was saying that actually what you want to do is you want to go for the early kills if you can make it happen. Not so much on a map like Sanhok, but for Erangel, for instance, actually going for the early engagements could definitely come to help you quite a lot. Because as we were seeing, if you take the early game and the mid game really, really slowly, then what you end up having is all of the teams still alive, because they're very good at staying alive, all of the teams still alive from the mid game to the late game. And what that means is that those 3 positions, 13, 14, 15, and 16, 4 positions, are all going to be a little bit of a flip of the coin. You might see some really good teams going out in those positions just because of maybe a single mistake, a slip up, or even because of random chance, because of the zone, because of the rotations they have to make. So they have to be really, really careful. You want to take those early engagements to wipe the teams off the board early so that you don't have to be the team that accidentally goes out in those positions in the late stage.
Wow. And these teams, we're looking at Group B right now. Influence, Rage Africa, Zero Tolerance Skills, BBC, Immortalz, G3 Temper, Not Gaming, Rainbow Six, Madagascar. These are teams that are looking to make their way up the leaderboard, and I'm hoping that they do. Let's take a look at the teams in Group D.
Yeah, heading into those Group D squads. Outsiders official, we've got Rain from Hell. We also have Sidizens Gaming. Dr. Sid going to be keeping his eye on the boys there. We've got Sincerity Esports. We've got the Euphoric Gods. We've also got Slime 4KT, the Young Thundercats, as well as NFxUNIQUE coming in that group as well. So we've got some pretty heavy hitters all across the board, actually.
Well, I'm super excited about that, and we are ready to head into our first map of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming, where there is no other action on the African continent that gives you the hottest PUBG experience that you can imagine. So I literally reinstalled PUBG Mobile on my mobile phone, at least before my screen broke this morning. And I tried to get into a game and just realized that this game is not as easy as it looks. I mean, a lot of people watch the streams. If you don't play PUBG and you watch the streams, you think it's so easy. But these players having to play on a screen and doing the things that they do is not easy, DK. I mean, can you break down some of the skills that you have to have? Because I see people playing like this with their fingers, like it's crazy.
It all comes down to developing that reflex in your hands. It's definitely a different kind of skill if you compare it to, for instance, let's say console or PC. We've actually had this discussion not too long ago. Speaking to the difference between the complexity of a mobile device and how difficult it is to control those small little buttons on a screen that is only so big in comparison to, for instance, someone using a controller on a console or having a keyboard and mouse on a PC. So mobile gaming definitely has its own kind of complexities, just based on the kind of inputs that you can put into that, and really getting those motor skills dialed in and all those settings fine-tuned. Man, it is hard work, and it takes a lot of practice to get. So looking at how these players are able to play, the level of skill coming from this, I mean, it is just absolutely mind-blowing to think that this is all happening on a mobile device, not on any other device. It's just a phone.
And I was watching, like, when I think about the guys who are doing all those shots, the sniping, the reloads, jumping, getting into those vehicles. Especially like some of the games we saw yesterday with Gun and these guys on Miramar. Like Patchy, yesterday the battles and that fights, like that takes a lot of dexterity and a lot of hard work. Like some of these players need to put in obviously hours of work to get the skill set or get to the skill level where they can compete on this level. Patrick, what do you have to say about the amount of work that needs to go into preparing for a tournament like this?
Oh, there's so much, man. There's so much. I mean, these guys who play here in this, they put so much time into this game. Obviously, you know, they've got to. You've got to obviously jump in. You've got to get to know the map in all of its intricacies, which means you've just got to play. And it's all of that play time, getting to know the guns, getting to know the strategies. You know, first you have to come into your own, be able to play the game by yourself. And then, of course, you have to bring that whole team element in. It's just so much to do. But these guys, they get in there and they do it.
Well, getting in there and doing it is what we are going to be doing right now as we get into the action on Erangel. This is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG Mobile. You are live with Patchy and DK as they will talk you through all the action. My name is Dr. Sid. See you after the first game.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sid. Once again, dropping in to some PUBG, getting it done in your Sunday evening or wherever you're watching from. I don't know what time of day it is, but we're getting into the first game here. It's Erangel, and well, it is Group B versus Group D. And I mean, I must say, this is certainly going to be an interesting game, to say the least. We're going to have a look and see that just a moment. Let's have a look and see where that flight path is going to be taking us up there from the northwest down towards the southeast, ending at Multi Power, BBC's favorite location. It is going to be a zone heading in towards the west, so some rotations definitely going to have to come through there. But just dropping back into what I was saying about some interesting teams that we've got on the board here. I mean, we've got teams like G3 Temper, we've got Immortalz, we've got Slime4KT, and we've got Sincerity. So we've got a lot of, I mean, amongst other, we've got a lot of teams sitting on that first page right now. I'm really hoping that we're going to see a reflection of that in the amount of action that we're going to see here today.
Yeah, definitely expecting quite a bit of a tough place to come in from these matches here today. As we've got, as you mentioned, we got Slime4KT, we've got the players from G3 Tempo, we've got Rain from Hell, we've got Immortalz, we've got Sincerity, and those are just the teams sitting on that first page. I mean, it's going to be a very hairy fight. And of course, Slime4KT coming in, trailing by 40 points at the current moment on that overall leaderboard. So definitely going to be looking towards them to see how they're going to, you know, handle themselves through these games here today. But also now as we look up in towards the players here from Zero Tolerance, currently sitting over in 11th place. So there is definitely that potential for them to bring in a strong game, acquire even more points, as we also see the players here from Not Gaming. They are currently sitting down in 27th place. So they are just in that relegation zone. So really hoping to see a strong performance coming in from Not Gaming today, especially if they want to move through into the next phase.
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely the case at this point. You know, it's you really want to be getting yourself out of that that relegation zone, that no zone right there. You don't want to be there because that means that you get taken out for the next round. And obviously, you don't want to get caught out there, but somebody has to go. At the end of the day, somebody has to go. You just have to make sure that it is not you. So these teams really do have a lot of work to do. And I mean, right now, it doesn't look super impossible. I mean, the point difference isn't all that much. A good game, maybe a chicken, some good kills will definitely be able to move you up that leaderboard. You've just got to get it done. And unfortunately, some of the teams, there really have been some big stumbling blocks from them getting caught out in the rotate, not being able to pick their fights. We saw yesterday that was happening quite a lot. There was a team that was getting caught out in the rotate a lot, and they weren't actually putting up much of a fight. As soon as they were pushed, they would immediately just fall back. They weren't confident enough. And right now, at this stage of the game, you cannot have that. You cannot be, you know, hesitant. You've got to be confident in your skills. You've got to go for it. You just have to make it happen. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you really do have to go for it. It's everything or nothing to get yourself out of that relegation spot.
100%. And of course, I mean, by the time we end today, we are halfway through the first round.
Yeah.
All right. So then, of course, we still have another round of, you know, the teams going up against each other still to continue on that fight. But I mean, reaching the halfway point, it's kind of an important milestone to be reaching, as this now gives us a fairly decent kind of an estimation as to where the teams will find themselves at the end of this first round. And of course, you want to get in that consistency, you want to get in that strong performance, because the longer you take to get to that point, the harder it becomes to acquire those additional points. And you really then have to start pulling hats out of rabbits instead of rabbits out of hats.
Yeah, yeah, that is. Yeah, that's a pretty accurate description of what needs to be going on. I think what you said there is very telling. You know, that halfway mark really does set the tone for sort of what's going on. And I mean, once we pass that halfway mark, we'll have a pretty good idea of where the teams are sitting currently in this stage of the tournament. In terms of their skill level, you know, at the moment we're seeing some names hovering around the top. Names like Gun, names like 4KT, names like Temper, names like Undisputed AE, even the Immortalz first stage, and yeah, I mean, they were sitting at the top there. You know, those are the names that have sort of been vying for those top spots. Those are the teams that we're talking about. Those are the teams whose names sort of pop up all the time. And if they manage to stay there, then, you know, that's sort of creates the tone. That creates what we expect from them moving forward. And the same is true for the teams, you know, sitting at towards the bottom. You know, they've got a lot to prove, especially if you're in the relegation zone at the moment. You need to get yourself out of there, because if you don't, then it is going to be a bit of a feels bad man moment for you, and you're going to have to come back next time and try to get yourself back into the swing of things. And then, of course, the rest of the teams will be in the hot seat again. You know, the teams that don't get relegated but are still at the bottom, of course, once that relegation zone moves up, they're going to be the ones in the hot seat. They're going to be the ones who have to try and get themselves out of that spot. So, you know, it definitely is going to, it's a knock-on effect, and we're going to start to see the setting of that tone here as we move to that halfway mark.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the teams are going to handle themselves. And of course, you know, like I mentioned, today is marking that halfway point of round one. But after this, we still move into that round two. As you mentioned, of course, you know, moving in then with 24 teams into that. And from the 24 teams in the semis, the finals is then those remaining 16 teams. So there's quite a bit of work yet to be done by all the teams participating, especially in this first round. Because once you can establish that stronghold on the leaderboard, the work becomes a little bit easier as you near the end of that particular round. Right? There's less work to do, but if you are lower on that leaderboard, I mean, the amount of work that you need to do to get into those qualifying slots, man, it becomes really, really tough. This is exactly what is part of the beauty of these tournaments, is to see exactly what the perseverance of these teams are, how resilient they are, and how they are able to handle themselves throughout these games. And of course, you can see now the players here from the outsiders, they're looking pretty comfortable up in their spot here in Rozhok. I mean, we've seen them drop in here time and time again. But now also looking to see what the players here from the Euphoric Gods are going to be able to do with this. Are you expecting them to start pushing in aggressively, or are you expecting them to maybe just hang around a little bit longer up on this hill to see if they can find those shots further down?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm hoping for them to do. I don't want to see them rushing into this blind. I like aggression, that's always good, but you know, when we talk about that, it's always got to be measured. It's always got to be with a goal in mind, with some sort of a strategy in place. And of course, the best one to utilize is to take picks before you go in, get some sort of a leg up before you go in, get the advantage before you just blindly rush and do something crazy. So that's what they're going to be looking for, a couple of long-range shots coming in there from the outsiders just to put them off a little bit. So some damage done, and they are pushed back for the time being, just waiting for something to expose itself. You really need to play a bit of a patient game here. If somebody, you know, just takes a bit of a peek, you spot them out, you can maybe punish them or catch somebody out as they're moving through from building to building. That's really what you're waiting for, especially if they could isolate a player like, for instance, Hounds, who's just on the other side of the compound. They can get him off, maybe just make it a bit difficult, because they don't really need to knock him. If they can knock one of the other players on the other side, then they can actually drive a wedge between the two halves of the group there, and that could make it a lot easier to take. So you've really got to put a little bit of thought into that before you just run on in. But yeah, you could also, I suppose, choose to rotate on out if you feel like you're not finding any heads right into the situation. In the meantime, of course, we did see the zone moving up just a little bit, as it does, putting a bit of extra pressure as we move into zone number 2. So maybe that will come into play as well to inform some of these teams' decisions.
It's interesting looking back over to that map quick as we saw the players from Immortalz. They are still sitting all the way down south over on towards that Sosnovka Island. Right, so that is a very calculated maneuver there by them. They're in no rush whatsoever to get into zone. They're currently sitting over in 6th place overall on the standings. So I kind of understand why they're taking that approach, because they want to try and stay out of the fights for as long as they possibly can to secure a position in that later phase. But of course, now as we look over here to the players from Young Thunder, they're currently sitting over in 25th place, all right? So they're one slot away, or they one slot away from making it up into that top 24 and getting out of that relegation slot. But of course, it's going to be a pretty tough one. Even the players from the outsiders, they are not too far away from that relegation spot themselves. They're currently sitting up in 21st, so only 3 positions separating them from, you know, making it through into the next phase and not going in. And at the current moment, there's only 5 points difference between being in top 24, you know, where they are in slot 21, and of course getting sent down to slot 25. So very, very small margin remains between these teams at the lower end of that leaderboard. So any and every fight they can find, or any potential opportunity they have for engagement to get those additional points in, is going to be absolutely crucial then for you. And especially the players from the Euphoric Gods. I mean, they're sitting in 26th place. They need those extra few points, any points they can find, to just move on in. So they got to play a very careful game. Be careful of not overextending themselves, overexposing themselves too early, because as we could see, these teams are all out for points. Everyone is eager to get those points, and they're going to try and take any opportunity that is presented to them. So definitely looking to see how they're going to be playing. But of course, now we jump up in towards the players here from Citizens Gaming, currently sitting in 23rd place. We got BBC just up ahead of them, also just making see. So far, again, those calculated maneuvers coming in. Nothing overly foolish, nothing overly aggressive. A lot of calculated playing coming in already in this game.
Yeah, and that's the way it has to be. You know, as you said, everyone's looking for an opportunity to get those points, but nobody wants to be the one to go out in those lower positions this game, because, of course, in those lower spots, you know, it's 0 points, 0 placement points. So they don't want to be the team that gets those 0 placement points. Everyone is just trying to play to the best of their abilities, really keep themselves alive and give themselves opportunity for points to pick those up. And it's super, super important. As you mentioned, it's absolutely critical for a lot of these teams to be getting those points in at the moment. Now Mercury rushing up towards Nibble, getting caught out in the rotation here. Lots of shots going through in the meantime. Gunner also, Flaco hitting the deck as well. That's G3 Temper taking a couple of early casualties there, which is definitely unlike what we generally see coming out of them, especially in their recent performance has really been ramping up. So a little bit of a change of pace for them, not expecting to get hammered so early, but there it is, lots of damage done to them. So we are seeing some fights start to break out even in this early stage of the game.
And it's only going to get tougher and tougher from here as that zone, of course, will start closing in and we progress into our later phases. Currently now just waiting to see where the next phase is going to be taking us. We are in the 3rd phase. You can see quite a few engagements already starting to come into that kill feed. But now we see the players there from Inference Rage holding up that position in the crash site there of the plane. BBC, of course, now just up north, or rather down south there from the shooting range. So this is quite the open terrain that they've got here. But now we're looking to see how they're going to try and maneuver themselves from this, because it is open. So many teams can take aim up in towards them, and that is exactly what we're seeing. So many shots already starting to come on in. But now we're looking for their continuation. The players from Citizens right behind them, hot on their heels. See the Natural Killers also just up ahead. Oh, sorry, that is the players from NFxUNIQUE. So again, the teams are getting closer and closer. The tension is starting to build. And this will be a really tough phase, especially with 15 teams and 55 players still alive. Man, it's going to be so tough to find a decent position. And if you can find it, I mean, those teams are definitely going to try and hold on to that with dear life. As you can see, Hainsley now turning his attention up in towards Abomination, who's trying to hide under the vehicle. But fortunately, Hainsley has figured that out and is just sending a slow, steady tap up ahead.
Yeah, the damage is being sent all across the board. He's also putting some shots in there for zero tolerance. So yeah, the fights are continuing, the engagements are continuing. Abomination very low on HP, has to juice himself back up and hope that he doesn't get taken out here. In the meantime, we've got some teams on the rotate all over the place. The Young Thunder also feeling the heat, trying to get themselves behind cover and stay alive for as long as possible. But things are difficult here. You know, there's some really good crossfires being held by a couple of these teams, and it's really difficult to rotate out of that when somebody's just watching, waiting for you to make the wrong move. Sleepy going to be hearing those vehicles, put some shots across there, trying to, you know, just get a little bit of something out of that, but it's not to be. In any case, some shots coming through in towards 4KT. Aim are going to be going down as all those shots just absolutely flying through. Abomination does get taken down in the meantime. Rick also hitting the deck as 4KT puts those shots in. Sully up here with that DP, trying to put the hits across. We'll see if they can make it happen. Yeah. Influence Rage in a little bit of a tough spot. Definitely not the easiest position to be in, but at least they have this little bit of a crater here for them to work with, some cover just to dodge around. But they have to be careful because the zone is not in their favor at this point, which means they are going to have to rotate at some point as that blue zone is starting to make its way on in. And we're moving into that fourth zone, moving into, of course, the fifth after this. So things are going to get really tough moving forward. You do not want to get caught out in that blue zone. So those rotations will definitely have to come through. And you can see already the blue zone doing some damage here as it starts to move on in. Lots of teams up here towards the edges of that zone. So a little bit of gatekeeping going to be done as well.
Yeah, that is quite a bit that we could be seeing from these teams, especially playing on the edge. But now we see Sleepy here from Influence Rage, keeping a very watchful eye down below over towards the team there from G3. But of course, they can't focus too far away because 4KT right alongside them. So they need to have that awareness, trying to focus those shots up in towards 4KT, because that is kind of the team that they need to try and get past. They need to put those hits in, send them backing, and then start focusing a little bit further upwards. But of course, this is getting so tough. As you can see, Citizens now also coming under fire there, as we saw a few shots flying up straight into the side of the team. But of course, now 4KT up ahead. Rain from Hell, great shots coming in there, but of course Buden steps on in from G3, finds that shot into the side of 4KT. But now this is where things are going to get pretty tough, especially up in this northeastern side. So many teams, so many players all positioned here, and everyone within line of sight of each other. A few smokes, a little bit of hard cover remains, but it's going to be a really tricky zone to play in, especially in this portion of the map.
Yeah, this is definitely a difficult spot to be in. Influence Rage now moving up the hill, just cresting the top of that with some grenades and trying to put some damage in. And indeed, they're succeeding here and there, putting the spots in that they need to get. But can they go all the way? Can they bring that into some kills? Can they get the squad wipe is the question, because they need to get over here. They're just inside the zone. But if Rain aren't going to continue to be in this position, it might just be difficult to make the next rotation. So they have to prioritize something here. And I certainly do hope that it is the positioning and maybe some defense over there. They don't push over the crest and get caught by too many crosses. In the meantime, 4KT, exactly, that's what's happening to them. Mercury putting those good shots across. So Influence Rage definitely just biding their time in the spot. They know that there's pressure up ahead of them, but they're not doing anything too crazy. They're just putting the shots across, getting the damage that they can do, and making sure that they stay alive for the time being. Very, very difficult terrain to play over, but they are making it work. The trees, the crests, the hills, they're using it for cover. Influence Rage just staying alive for the time being, despite all of these crosshairs being drained in their general vicinity. Andrew under a lot of pressure here in this hut. So many people looking in his direction. He cannot leave. All the smoke's getting popped to try and cover him for the time being. Some good shots from Hansley coming in there towards G3 Tempo, who have been under fire for this entire game. And as we move from that fourth zone into the fifth, things are going to be heating up all that much more.
Yeah, definitely expecting quite a bit of chaos to erupt between these teams. We're still sitting on 13 teams, 43 players alive. Influence Rage now getting ready for a little bit of a rotation, a little bit of assist there with the vehicle just to get it budged out of that position it was stuck in. But now G3 just outside of that zone. No, still in a fairly decent position. If they can play this one well, they can really acquire quite a few points. As you can see, all those rotations still needing to happen just up in front of them. And so many teams still situated over towards this eastern side. So definitely looking to see where the teams are going to try and rotate in. Shylock, of course, now keeping a very watchful eye up towards Pronto there from 4KT. Not really being able to spot that rotation just yet. But this is where Rain needs to start thinking about their own rotation in towards zone. Currently, they are focused on the teams up ahead of them, where they should rather be focusing on getting into that zone, securing a decent and strong anchor point within that in order for them to fight from. Because if they come in with a really late rotation, one of the other teams are going to take that opportunity and move in. As you can see, of course, now the players from 4KT and Influence Rage coming into a bit of a fight, but we also have the players there from God sending those nades over. Euphoric Gods finding a beautiful one into the side there of the players from... Oh, that is going to be so close. As see Influence still trying to push on in. 4KT now trying to make a play for it. Mercury still trying to hold on up. He is the last remaining player for his team. If he cannot pull off those reses, it is going to be a really tough match, a really tough start here for them. But of course, now, as you can see, the zone shifting that further down in towards the south. Strong angle coming in here from the Euphoric Gods. They have got that advantage over the players here from Influence Rage. But of course, now we look to see whether or not they'll be able to capitalize on that. Hainsley now quickly coming up with a quick rotation, trying to make his way around towards the south. But of course, he is still within line of sight of the players from the Euphoric Gods. 4KT also now trying to squeeze on in, as Andrew is the last remaining hopeful. So we've been looking quite a bit over towards the eastern side, looking at how these teams have been playing. But I'm pretty sure the western side of the zone is equally jam-packed with players, as we still have 10 teams, 26 players remaining. And of course, we're now moving into that sixth phase. We're now watching the fifth phase blue zone closing on in. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where this next zone is going to be going. So many players still left. A lot of contention now coming in. A lot of pressure on these teams to perform and get those necessary points in to make it up into those very late phases.
Yeah, we went into this, it's looking absolutely insane, but the answer is exactly the same that we've been saying all this time. We went into Zone 5 with 13 teams. That is way too many teams for anyone to reasonably be able to strategically manage their position. You are going to take casualties. You are going to find it really tough and difficult to survive in a situation like that when there are so many teams left alive going into that zone. Now, of course, as we head into the next one, there are only 7 teams alive because we've had all of this chaos, because of the fact that we just had so many teams jam-packed into this tiny zone. So, of course, now we've got 7 teams remaining. Hound are going to be just peeking over to see if he can spot anyone out that zone. Of course, very small, is going to force the rotations to come through from all sides of the map. Only the outsiders have really gotten their way across that line. A couple of players right next to them. So the team's now making their rotation on in. Might just be caught out as the shots coming in from Ovation, putting the shots through towards the Immortalz. Jeff going to go down in the meantime. Ovation moves off through the smoke. Lots of shots flung all over the show. It is just absolutely flying. People crawling around. The shots are flying. The damage is being done. Everyone's just trying to keep themselves alive for the time being. But it's chaos because there's so many teams still jam-packed in here. 7 teams, 19 players here in a zone that is absolutely minuscule at this point. The terrain also not helping, as of course there's not really any solid cover, so the smokes do have to come through as those rotations come through. Skeeter going to put the shots in towards Jeff. He's not going to be able to get picked up this time around. And, well, everyone's going in for it. Skeeter does get taken down as some reply shots come in from the Immortalz. Shots coming in from Hayes up to Young Thunder at the top of the hill, looking to usurp their throne, sitting at that bit of elevation advantage. Things are getting difficult. You can see the crossfire is absolutely nuts. G3 Temper, look, all huddled up in some smoke. Nothing they can do. It is just absolute dire situation for everyone on the map right now.
This zone is looking particularly tough as we have that blue zone closing up once again. The teams are forced to rotate further in towards that zone. They now need to make a very rash decision here of where exactly they're going to try and push into. You can see the players here from Young Thunder now just facing the insane challenges. They too tried to push in. Flacco now coming in with a few shots, but of course they get taken out in the process, getting dropped right down. And now we see the players here from the Euphoric Gods trying to hold up this angle up in towards the north. So far, a fairly interesting angle that they have. Of course, the players here from Zero Tolerance also now trying to make their play up in towards that northwestern side. Only 4 teams remain. That is the Outsiders. It's not gaming. It's the players here from Zero Tolerance. And then, of course, the players there from the Euphoric Gods. We got this nice, lovely ridge line running over on the western side of the zone. We're curious to see where the next shift is going to be taking us, because depending on where it goes, the teams that we have up on this higher ground, they will really have a nice advantage onto the teams down below. So definitely looking to see where that goes, and it shifts back up in towards the northern side now. So still seeing that ridge ever so slightly in play. But we see exactly who's going to be the team to rotate up into that zone, secure their position, fortify that, and defend it all the way through into that chicken dinner play. Also, the players there from Euphoric Gods already be positioned within the zone. The other 3 opposing teams still need to find their angles, but they are now stuck on the outside of the zone, fighting it out, trying to see who can make it on in, as the players here from the outsiders try to put those heads in towards the team from Not Gaming. But Not Gaming finds the shots. Down they go. It is now the outsiders left to rotate up from the south. Still a very trying angle to come on in from, but of course Zero Tolerance now down to their last 2 men. As you can see, the players from Euphoric Gods, Hunter steps on up, finds the hits, off they go. Now it is Not Gaming, the 2 players from Not Gaming up against the 3 players left for the Euphoric Gods. Definitely a very, very interesting finish, as we see Zeus and Jagger still trying to find those angles in towards the players, but it's looking to be quite a bit of a challenge as everyone is playing these ridge lines. Jagger now getting picked up there by Sunny. Everything riding on Zeus. Hunter keeping a very watchful eye, finds the opening, follows through, and picks up that chicken dinner. And of course, the players from Euphoric Gods do so with a very, very nice 8 kills for their first game here today.
Wow, that was definitely unexpected, to say the very, very least, about what was going on there. That was unexpected. I did not think going into this match that we were going to see Euphoric Gods coming out on top, followed by Not Gaming. I mean, these 2 are teams sitting literally right on top of each other on the leaderboard, right towards the bottom. I mean, 27th and 26th. That's not the teams you would expect to make it up here. Usually we would expect a more seasoned team like G3 or BBC or someone to be making it up, especially with the performances we've been seeing from them, a little bit more consistent. But no, it's Euphoric Gods taking that chicken dinner, taking some serious kills going in there. And actually, a really good duel coming out from Not Gaming as well. They had 2 really good duels back-to-back. They're, of course, losing it out to Euphoric Gods in the end, but that was actually a really good duel coming out towards the end of the game there. Very, very surprising coming out from them, but that's exactly what we need for them to do, to be able to get out of this relegation that they're finding themselves in.
I'm a bit sad. I mean, I'm happy for teams like Euphoric Gods that have literally listened to what I said and pushed themselves hard, got a winner chicken dinner, and have an opportunity to move up that leaderboard. But I'm highly disappointed in my team, who didn't go ham or hard enough to make it into a position where they get points as well. But that, all in all, was an exciting game, and I totally enjoyed watching it. For the first time, personally, watching a map on Erangel, seeing so much action in one spot, it was like, usually the game drags for a while, but when the action really happened, it was a lot of teams in one space, and watching that was so amazing to see. And it just proves that you can't tell what's going to happen at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG Mobile Tournament. You can't tell. You can't really predict anything. With that said, let's take a look at the leaderboard for this game today.
Yeah, there it is, of course. Euphoric Gods sitting on top, of course. Those 15 placement points looking super spicy, followed by the 8 kills, giving them a total of 23 points to take up that first position for you for game 1. Zero Torrent Skills coming in there in the second place. The 10 placement points plus the 12 kill points going to give them 22, so following very, very closely. Not Gaming, of course, taking that second place, giving them the 12 plus 5 kills and 17 total points there for that third spot. Outsiders Official making it into 4th place, followed by G3 Temper in 5th. The Immortalz taking up 6th. Young Thunder taking up the 7th place, followed by Slime 4KT. Definitely not what I thought I'd be seeing here. Slime 4KT, I mean, being such leaders in the overall leaderboard, you'd expect them to place a little bit higher, but not come into play in game 1. So yeah, definitely a little bit interesting coming out from them. Of course, now moving in to Influence Rage Africa, sitting in that 9th position with 4 placement points, followed by Sincerity in the 10th position, BBC in 11. We've got NFxUNIQUE in 12, Citizens in 13, Rain from Hell in 14th position, and Rainbow Six Madagascar taking up the tail end there on 15 with 0.
Well,
I gotta
that
say, though,
just wraps. Go ahead, DK.
No. I just wanted to say, like, I'm really impressed with the performance that we had coming in from the players there from Zero Tolerance, the team as well. You know, finishing off from the Euphoric Gods. That was a really decent performance that we had for them here today. Really impressed with especially the top 3 teams and how they placed in this match. And of course, no surprise to see Zero Tolerance coming in with that MVP position over on 5 kills. I mean, such a strong play. But it was about time that we have the teams, you know, as we were talking about before, Euphoric Gods are not gaming, really stepping up their performance here today to get themselves out of that relegation spot. So really impressed with how they handled themselves this match.
And it just shows that a lot of the teams are watching and understanding that they need to really step it up in order to get those placement points or get up in the leaderboard. Because like we said, and just to inform everyone again right now, that only the top 24 teams make it into the next round. The leaderboard will be reset and we start all over again. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break and then we will be right back with Game 2 on Sanhok at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming. I'm here, Dr. Sid, with Pachi and DK, bringing you all the action right after this break. Welcome back to the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG Mobile Tournament, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming. My name is Dr. Sid, here with DK and Patchy, and we've just witnessed some amazing gameplay in the first game of the day. But just very quickly before we move on, we were having a very interesting conversation, during the break, and I want to share it with you guys watching the stream right now. So personally, watching the game, I feel like there's too much passiveness going on in the beginning of the games, that it leaves so much chaos at the end of the matches. I'm personally feeling like teams need to be more aggressive at the beginning of the games, taking out as many teams as possible, and leaving the end game situations for a more tactical, approach. I feel like DK, what's your thoughts on this before we move forward?
I agree with you on that. And one way the teams could approach this is the point structure, the points the players get awarded for their placement, right? If they think of the placement points as a consolation prize for their performance in the match, it would change up the way they play. If they looked at the kill points as being the actual reward, being the thing that moves you up that leaderboard, they will start performing much stronger. If we look, for instance, at the second game from Gun yesterday, right? They finished off exceptionally strong on an 18 kill game. 18 kills. That is 18 points right there, regardless of where they placed, right? Now, if we had more teams stepping up, getting aggressive, early game, mid game, and not waiting till those later phases, it's going to be such a close call with regards to points with these teams, as those kills really just start raking up.
Patchy, what's your take on this? Because even from listening to what DK has just said, getting those kill points, if you're getting kills, you're actually moving yourself up the leaderboard to get better place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you eliminate a team, you're getting a free placement point plus the kills that you've gotten. So squad wipe 4 points. If you move yourself up the leaderboard, you move yourself, up a tier. If you were in the tier of we're not getting any points for our placement, then you upgrade your consolation prize, as DK puts it. But from a strategic perspective as well, because that's sort of the angle I always like to take when it comes to conversations like this. From the strategic angle, it is actually very much important to get aggressive as well, and actually incorporate that into your gameplay. Now, playing a slower, more strategic, thought-out game is important, but it has to be incorporated with the aggression. It has to be incorporated with, getting stuff done on the map. You were actually saying earlier, Sid, how you were really impressed by the way that mobile gamers, and specifically in PUBG, have their fingers all doing this, the stuff on the screen. And that's multitasking. That's being able to do a lot of things at once. It's a skill that they refine over time, being able to do the cognizance of thinking, okay, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? What do I need to have? Where do I need to be? Who do I need to shoot? Plus being able to actually commit that in game. Now, it's the same with the strategic approach, right? If you've got some stuff going on, you're like, okay, yes, I need my loot. I need to position, but I need to be focused on getting the kills as well. Like DK said, shift of the mindset to say, okay, those kills are actually not just, oh, cool, I'm getting a kill and a point. It's these are the points that I'm going for. This is actually what I'm aiming for. That's really going to catapult you up. If you want to be a stellar, high-performing team that is just dominating the leaderboard every time, that's the mindset you've got to adopt, and it really will come to play. I mean, in every major title that you can think about, really, in any esports title that you can think about, that's actually what's happening in the minds of all the top-tier teams. They're like, okay, how do we do the normal stuff plus get that extra advantage, get that extra edge? And this is what has to be happening here. When you're sitting across from the enemy team and you have a bit of a stalemate, you've got your loot, they've got their loot, and you're trying to decide what to do. As I was saying this, like, for instance, as we were chatting just in the break there, we've got to have a situation where you're not just waiting for the enemy team to make mistakes, you're not just punishing the enemy team's mistakes, you're making them make the mistakes and then punishing them. You're putting them into a situation where you can then take advantage of that. And that's really what separates the high tier teams there, because that's what they're doing. It's not just a case of, ooh, we've got the skill of being able to identify and punish the mistakes. We've also got the skill of making them make the mistakes and then punishing them for it. And that's really, I think, what's the next evolution of where we're going to be going here. as we move
Yeah,
forward.
because when you think about it, you play other first FPSs and battle royale games, and you notice that the teams that usually come out on top, they go at you. They push, 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 push all the time. All right, the action is about to begin. We are flying over in game two. I'm just gonna leave you guys right now in the capable hands of DK and Patchy as we look forward to some aggressive action at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG tournament. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sid, once again. Now we're moving in to Sanhok, our second map of the evening for this evening's games. Man, DK, I feel like we could all just make a podcast about the things that we have to say about the state of gameplay. But we'll leave that. We'll set that all aside because I know we've got a lot of words to say in that regard. We had a great conversation there in the break, as Dr. Sid alluded to. So putting that aside, heading into the game, what we've got on our hands is quite a relatively easy first zone slap bang on top of these players here. What I'm really hoping for is that I'm not expecting these teams to suddenly switch it up and just, absolutely dominate everything from here. But what I am hoping for is that we're going to see some teams step it up a little bit. I was a bit disappointed in, for instance, the performance of teams like G3, teams like Sincerity even. We actually saw Sincerity doing a really good job last time we saw them on the map. And today, they're not really showing up like we were expecting them to. So I'm really waiting for them to kick into gear here because we're definitely not seeing gameplay that we expect out of some of these teams.
Yeah, that happens from time to time. I mean, we're all human. Some days we've got a really on point day, and other days not so much. So let's just say it's maybe some of the players just not having the best day. For whatever reason. We are on Sanhok. This, of course, is a map that lends itself to that aggression, that aggressive play. So really looking to see who's going to be stepping up, especially on Sanhok here, to go out and start getting a little bit of those, just getting rid of some of that aggression, finding those additional points. See the players here from NFxUNIQUE starting off the fight with Rain from Hell. Already the first knock coming in. We got Zis there also now just taking a quick bit of damage. But now Shylock, as you can see on the opposite end, already getting knocked on out. And here we go as this now starts closing that gap on it towards Neon. Oh, nice. Puts in a beautiful shot. But of course, now we look to see whether or not NFxUNIQUE will be able to wrap this one up. The nice bit of aggression that we have here as they are encircling the players from Rain from Hell. But of course, now Zis getting knocked out as well. So Madara and Argus now really put on a back foot here as the players here from NFxUNIQUE are really pushing in and they are eager to find those points.
Yeah, that's pretty good to see some nice early engagement coming out from them, just getting them a little bit of place to play. Argus coming in, doing some damage as well. Resist and Terry going to be going down. Some shots coming back in from Rain. We'll see if they can continue to put up the heat. Lots of damage being done. You can see those HP bars are pretty low. Argus still just checking to see if there's anyone knocking at the door for the time being. Not just yet. Rez coming through from Keish as the rest of NFU's moves on up to try and put the pressure on to Rain sitting up inside this house. Here come the shots. There goes Madara straight down immediately. Argus now forced to rotate on out of that house and just trying to escape with his life. It's going to be a difficult spot for him. Is he going to make it out? That's the question. Cage coming in, and actually he's just going to get taken out by FaZe. No problem. Nails in the coffin, done and dusted, and some really nice early game action taken out there. That's gonna come in handy for later.
Yeah, the players here from NFxUNIQUE, they handled this one fairly well. Yes, they did have a few knocks come on through, but fortunately they didn't lose any of their players in that exchange. So a really nice play there from them, but of course they are not out of the woods just yet, as we can see the players here from G3. They've heard those shots, they've heard the engagements, they want to now come in with that third party and pick up a few easy kills along the way. So they don't have to do as much damage as the team up ahead there from NFxUNIQUE has already taken a considerable amount of that damage. So definitely looking to see how G3 is going to play this one and whether or not they're going to try and bounce on that opportunity. But of course, as we now jump over in towards Camp Bravo here, we can see the players from the Young Thunder just making their way through, heading further up in towards that western side of the map. So definitely curious to see where the teams are going to be rotating on up into. As you can also see the players here from BBC just moving closer up in towards what seems to be boot camp. No, that's not boot camp. That's one of the camps. Maybe Camp Charlie or Alpha. I'm not quite sure. It's one of them. But they definitely just exploring their options, exploring the region, looking to see if they can find any potential engagements. But of course now G3 getting closer and closer to the side here of NFxUNIQUE. So really hoping to see those shots and those engagements start coming through.
Yeah, this is actually what I really like about what we've seen coming out here and there from G3. It's like a gleaming jewel in their playstyle that pops out from time to time, but we see them really just react to the things happening around them. They're like, "Ooh, was that a fight happening there? Let's go and kill those guys who are low on HP while they're down. You know, kick them while they're down." That's really the motto of that particular style coming out from G3. So that's actually a really good thing. I enjoy watching that. You know, it's really good to see, because then they're just like, yeah, let's go in, let's hunt these guys all the way to the end. You know, if we know they're a bit low, if we know they're struggling just a little bit, let's try and push that advantage. Let's try and get ourselves in that spot and really kick them while they're still trying to pick themselves back up. And that's a mentality that I think definitely could be adopted by a lot of teams here. That seem to find themselves in a spot where it's like, okay, now what do we do? You know, they're asking that question, okay, now what do we do? And I think that's actually a really good tactic to take. You know, maybe we can just go and see if we can pick off any unfortunate people who've just come out of a really tough fight.
Definitely a good mentality to have, and we've seen that come in from G3 in past matches and past series, but definitely looking for a continuation on that momentum build-up starting to happen, and of course them creating a little bit of a snowball effect, just rushing in, getting hit after hit, and building up that kind of kill counter for them. But of course you can see now Gunner keeping a very watchful eye onto the side of the players from NFxUNIQUE. We haven't seen a push just yet, but it makes sense because G3 haven't... They don't know exactly to the exact point where the players from NFxUNIQUE are situated. So definitely see them moving back and forth, trying to gather as much information as they can before deciding whether or not they should potentially try to rotate into that angle and apply a little bit of pressure. But of course now you can see the team there from Young so just off to the side. So definitely a lot of options starting to present itself as the teams are getting closer and closer together, but now we're just waiting to see where the next bit of engagements will be coming from.
Yeah, we're just having a look and seeing, of course, one of the things about this map is that you can try and slow it down in the beginning just a little bit to delay the inevitable, but ultimately the inevitable is that this game will pick up the pace exponentially quicker and quicker as things move forward. So at the moment, we do have a couple of seekers just looking. You can see Illusion looking in towards the distance in the direction of G3, seeing what they can see. Of course, as you can see on the map that we've got showing here, the team's relatively well spread out for the time being. A nice concentration in towards the middle. G3 just positioned next to NFxUNIQUE, who they were chasing a little bit earlier. And then, of course, we got 4KT just off to the side of them. So we do have a really nice area in the middle here where some engagements could potentially start to happen. So hopefully we do start to see that breaking out just a little bit. But of course, for the time being, we don't really have anything all too crazy happening. But that will certainly start to change as that zone is closing on in.
Yeah, and quite curious to see where the next phase is going to be taking us. We are only now in the first phase. Of course, we have that blue zone closing in slowly but surely. It has quite a bit of distance to cover to close in all the way. But once that zone then shifts up, I'm really interested to see exactly where it is going to be going. As you can see, of course, we have that southeasterly zone. So a few interesting positions we have the teams in already, especially in that more centralized region. But definitely looking to see where the next phase is going us, and of course then how these teams are going to try and rotate in towards that, and especially the teams that would then be in the next phase, whether or not they're going to try and just fortify their current hold, or are they going to try and rotate up into a little bit of a stronger position.
Yeah, we'll have a look and see what the decision is here. Honestly, I'd like to see, I'd definitely like, oh, well, I mean, based on the conversation we had earlier, everyone knows what it is that we would like to see. But for the time being, definitely what I want to see is a little bit more coming out of Sincerity here. They had some good performances early on. Let's see if they can deliver some more. See if they can get something done as they head on up closer and closer towards G3. Might just be walking into a bit of a trap here. We have G3 split up 2 players, Flecker and Six Guards sitting on the one side, and of course Björden and Gunner sitting on the other. So maybe a little bit of an ambush here. I would be very interested to see if they would buy their time enough for Sincerity to walk right into that trap. That would be quite interesting to see if they do make it that far. Björden is going to be spotting out the movements. Gunner as well, crosshairs trained, so they might just be able to spot out a couple of pot shots in that direction, but Sincerity taking up residence on top of that hill for the time being, using the trees as cover. Gonna just manage to slip away for the time being. Have definitely spotted out the potential for that ambush and have, you know, at least played it a bit more cautious, but the incoming shots from Gunner and the rest of G3 is definitely going to make them second guess exactly where it is that they decide to go.
It definitely is going to be an interesting one to see exactly how this fight will unfold. But a fairly decent spread coming in here from G3. I'm liking the 2-2 split. It's a good angle to gather information, but of course, it would be much easier once they've gathered that information and decided how they're going to play. I'd be interested to see them, you know, condense once again back into a group and then push up from there. Because as you can see, the players from Sincerity up ahead, they're keeping their angles up on the hill, trying to not split up too much, but of course also still trying to position themselves in such a way that they are able to bring in that additional bit of information just to figure out what the lay of the land is kind of ahead of them. But now as we look over towards the citizens towards that cave region, you can see, of course, Potato now just scouting out the hills, just seeing if he can spot any movement. But we've got the players from Euphoric Gods just up ahead of them, just a little bit further up on that road. So definitely looking to see what 11 and Rick are going to make of their angles that they have there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have a look and see. They've got something to work with here. We'll see if they can make it happen for the time being. Inside the zone, sitting quite happily there. We've also got BBC, not on their usual shenanigans. They're sitting very much on the dry land for the time being. A little bit of a spread out line coming through as they approach the Young Thunder team right up ahead of them, looking for a potential engagement, maybe looking to cause a bit of trouble. We'll see if they can make it happen. Haven't pushed over the threshold just yet, though, but they're waiting to see if they can find a quick leg up onto this team. But this is where the situation really does put you put it into that you know, that sort of essence where I was saying, you know, maybe you can wait and see if they make a mistake, or maybe get something going and see if you could force him to make a mistake. Nihal in a position where he could just potentially be on the receiving end of a nade, so we're going to have a look and see if he does receive that, and indeed he will. Very nicely played by Abomination. They're going to be knocking Nihal down, and that's going to force BBC into a bit of a tough position, but Abomination going straight for the kill is going to be punished immediately by Lord. A bit of a brash decision there. Definitely like the mentality, but immediately BBC there to respond. And now with that 1-for-1, BBC have just kicked into motion here, moving up to see if they're going to spot out any of the Young Thunder team moving forward to try and get that res. And of course, they also need to get forward to try and get that res as well. So this is now a difficult spot for both of these teams. They have to get something done. Otherwise, they're going to risk losing one of their team members. And of course, you don't really want that to happen. In the meantime, we are seeing a little bit more fighting in the kill feed as well. So that's good to see. G3 on the receiving end of a couple of shots. Here comes for luck, putting them in 6. Actually, going to find some into Sincerity. Unfortunately, they have run into that particular trouble, so they are still fighting it out there in that position. So we've got a couple of fights now starting to break out, and I only expect that to increase in number as the zone closes up, moving from 2 to 3.
Definitely some interesting positions that we see in here. A lot of they're still holding back on those engagements. Not a lot of crazy aggressive pushes just yet. So definitely just playing the hard cover to their advantage. But definitely looking to see exactly how the players on the outlying regions are going to try and rotate. And as you can see, Sincerity just on that offside, keeping a watchful angle. We got the players here from G3, of course, now also just quickly trying to recover some health. But we see Young Thunder and the players there from, I believe that was BBC, exchanging a few shots back and forth. But now also the team here from Sincerity choosing to rather disengage, rotate up a little bit further in towards the north as we now wait to see where the next phase will be taking us. But of course G3 still just keeping a very watchful eye on that position where we did see the players from Sincerity not too long ago. But 4KT now also finding a few shots over in towards NFxUNIQUE. So nice bit of aggression once again coming in. But now we're definitely looking to see where the teams are going to try and position themselves and play this next phase.
Yeah, so G3, they've made their way across that hill, getting themselves over into that zone, keeping a watchful eye on Sincerity to make sure that they're not going to get shot in the back. So just doing their due diligence for the time being, getting themselves in across that line, and maybe doing a little bit of gatekeeping as Sincerity do start to rotate up as well. We'll see if that pans out. In the meantime, they are getting their positions done here and actually taking up position right on the top of this hill, giving themselves some good angles in there. Just up ahead, we've got 4KT now on your screen, moving in. Influence Rage just across from them. So we'll see if that battle happens. Of course, with Temp taking up position just across from them, it might just be a couple of back and forth skirmishes between those teams in a line. We'll see if that happens. Influence Rage getting into their vehicles to make that rotation happen. And of course, we have G3 still encroaching a little bit on the positions of 4KT. So we'll see who's going to come out on top of this engagement. Aimer, true to his name, going to find some good shots in towards Gunner there. Aimer going to be true for the time being. The res does come through, and they're not really going to be able to push that unless some grenades can change that. We'll see. 4KT a little bit of a distance away. Going to have to pick their fights carefully.
Definitely looking to see how G3 is going to handle this one. Currently, they're sitting up in second place on that overall leaderboard. 4KT just a few points ahead of them, sitting 31 points ahead. So essentially for G3, any points that they can find, definitely see them trying to follow up on that, and of course, you know, bring in those points to strengthen their standings on that leaderboard. And of course, now the players there from NFxUNIQUE just up ahead, they're currently sitting in 14th place, so they are safe, but also I'm pretty sure they won't shy away from any points that they would be able to find in these exchanges. And of course, that zone just continuing on once again as we see that blue zone closing up slowly but surely. The players here from Sincerity now finding their entry point back in towards zone, coming in from that northeastern side. So definitely looking to see where all these teams are. So I mean, we've got 14 teams just spread out throughout this whole map. And I mean, we're already 17 minutes in. So again, as we get into those later phases, things are going to get a little bit more forced instead of, you know, those calculated, you know, decisive. So definitely looking to see who's going to try and set themselves up in a very advantageous angle in these coming few zones.
Yeah, I mean, as the space runs out, the options run out as well. That is just, you know, how the game goes. So we'll see who's going to be utilizing the space that they've got for the time being. Influence Rage taking up their position right here in boot camp, making sure that they are in the pole position for the meantime. Everyone else in the surrounding area going to be moving over across that line, getting themselves in there. Sincerity, of course, Muffin getting themselves just closer up toward that zone, although running straight in towards Angel here. So a bit of a fight could take place. Yeah, a bit of a one-on-one as Muffin is very much far ahead. Going to be running straight into Angel. Oh, pops straight up, has to get behind that tree and not going to get there in time. Muffin absolutely not expecting Angel to be there, hidden like a snake in the grass. So definitely going to be a bit of a cheeky one there. Lord, in the meantime, going to be outrunning the blue zone, which is definitely not what you want to be 4 zones deep at this stage of the game. Rogue taking up position to try and counter Angel there, try and force them down as they get closer for the res. Lord going to be moving in for the kills. Citizens have taken quite a bit of damage here. You can see them right up ahead of Lord, who is in quite a decent position to do a little bit of a punishment here. A bit of res coming through for the BBC team as well. Lord going to put some shots into Potato. So down that player will go. Some more shots coming in towards the Citizens, who are trying to fight back, although BBC find themselves in the tough spot of being inside the zone, which is definitely not what you want to be right now for Love. Not going to be able to out-heal the zone, I think, or just barely, if at all. So it is a tough time for a lot of these teams here. You can see Sincerity now still fighting Angel, not being able to pick them off. Not Gaming has not even come in to reinforce at this point. They're just not able to snuff him out. And it's really becoming difficult. The longer it takes to take that player out, the more difficult things become. We still have 14 teams left on the board. We are 4 zones deep. Things are not going to be easy from this point on.
Yeah, definitely going to be quite a bit of a challenge. But of course, Aimer now just cooking up those utils, trying to send them over Superior. Now just trying to challenge Aimer a little bit. Just sending a few utils of their very own across in towards them. So Young Thunders now just hiding behind those rocks right up in front. But Aimer finds that nade across. Gets the hit in, and of course now this is where we look to see whether or not 4KT is going to get aggressive and start sending onto the side of the players here from Young Thunder. But at the moment, they're just gatekeeping them, patiently waiting to see how they're going to play this one and how they're going to try and rotate in. As Aimer's, of course, the front line defense there with this edge play. Definitely 4KT trying to milk this one as much as they can, trying to pick up as many kills there from Young Thunder as they possibly could. But of course now Superior gets knocked right on down. It is now up to Buxy and Illusion to make that final rush for the Young Thunder team, as 4KT is holding up a really strong line still. Pronto getting knocked out. Aimer now left behind those heads. Out comes Andrew as well, trying to provide that extra bit of support, but Aimer does the dance around the rock, finds the first one in towards Buxy. Down goes Illusion. Beautiful pickup coming in from 4KT. And now, of course, they need to focus on getting up in towards zone, but it's not going to be an easy one as there's so many teams in the vicinity just waiting for them to step on it. You can see Influence Rage, Sleepy, they're finding a quick, easy kill on towards Sunny, but Hainsley now turning his attention over towards Buden there from G3, as G3 is now also trying to push up in towards Bootcamp. This is going to be a super hairy fight, especially in the zone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is not going to be an easy one. I mean, we could see that those positions were just absolutely tough, to say the very least. I mean, yeah, you describe it as a hairy fight all across the board right now. G3 managing to keep themselves in a pretty decent showing here. All of the players still alive as they move into this one. How long is the question at the moment? Mercury putting a couple shots across to try and do the damage to the surrounding teams as they start to move forward. Of course, the outside is now pushing around. As you can see, Rainbow Six Madagascar trying to outrun that blue zone, might just get punished by the outsiders, but the rotation from the outside needs to come through as well. They have to be careful here that they don't get punished, but they will. Hainsley, quick on the trigger, will make that happen. Influence Rage there to capitalize on the positioning, and this is exactly what we expect to happen at this stage of the game. The teams have already taken up residence inside that zone, and they're just laying down the fire as the teams make their rotate on in. All the shots coming through. Sully managing to get those crosses absolutely trained. Snurr been doing quite a lot for his team. Buden going to go down in the meantime. G3 not finding a very easy position to be in. Rainbow Six going to be losing some players as well, and there it goes, instantly taken out. Absolute devastation across the board. 6 teams remaining, 17 players left alive as G3 getting punished left, right, and center. It looks like they only have 1 player remaining, Flaco, left alive, trying to get out of that blue zone. We've got Influence Rage moving down as the Immortalz take up position inside the safe area. They have complete pole position up inside. They complete control. Influence Rage now moving in as well. It is looking absolutely tough for so many of these teams. They've just been annihilated.
But I mean, the players here from Immortalz looking so good in the zone. Beautiful position for them to be in. And of course, you can see Jeff now just lying outside there, just trying to keep a watchful eye to see who's going to try and push in from that far southern side. But of course, now we see the players here from Not Gaming trying to apply a little bit of pressure onto the side of the Immortalz, as we've got the players from Influence now also still fairly spread out, coming in with a 2-2 split here. As we can see Mercury holding this angle, and Sully and Sleepy up ahead. Hainsley, of course, heading up there with him. Flacco, the last remaining player for the G3 team, slowly inching his way back in towards that zone, just trying to evade the chaos for the time being. But Jeff now picks up a quick shot into the side there of zero tolerance. You can see Angel now fishing up into the grass, trying to find a few hits in a return. So holding onto the compound, not willing to relinquish control of that just yet, as Hainsley sends a few shots up in towards the outsiders. But of course, those utils now getting exchanged between the players here from Not Gaming and the team there, from the Immortalz. But Sully sneaks up the side, finds a beautiful angle on towards Zeus, and this is where things are going to get pretty tough, as we've got 4 teams remaining, 12 players to spread out throughout the boot camp here. We can see Flacco, of course, still just trying to make his way into zone, coming in from that eastern side. But I mean, this center zone just by itself is already looking pretty tough, as we got the players from Not Gaming and the Immortalz keeping a watchful eye on each other. But now that zone shifts up once again, heading further in towards the eastern side. Jeff now still just trying to play in the grass. Beautiful wait in ambush there. Of course, now the players here from Not Gaming trying to clear this compound before pushing in. Quick defense coming in there from Darkness as he finds that shot in towards Zeus. Umar now trying to hold up the angle, puts a shot in towards Snorra, but Snorra retaliates with the AK, finds the knock. Darkness now getting knocked and thirsted. So Jeff now looking pretty challenged in his position as he now also just on up. 3 teams remain. Oh, Not Gaming still just trying to find those angles in towards Influence, but Influence come in with 4 players. Not Gaming come in with 4 players, and then of course we got Flacco still just holding on, trying to get into those placement positions, but Influence Rage now positioned within the zone. As you can see, Mercury out in the grass. Flacco gets picked up by Sleepy. The 2 final teams left to battle it out. It is Influence Rage up against the players from Not Gaming, but Not Gaming now getting hit as Angel tries to make the rotation back up into a zone. The rest of the team right there alongside where Angel was just knocked out. We can see, of course, now, nice exchange. Zeus gets knocked out. Jagger tries to step on up, finds the hit in, but of course gets picked up in the process. The players there from Influence Rage really playing a phenomenal game. As you can see, of course, they fit really strong on 15 kills.
Wow, that was quite a battle. I wasn't really sure which way that was going to go right up until the end. They're Not Gaming putting in some heavy lifting to be in that second position. They were really, a lot of teams were finding it challenging to get past Not Gaming right there. I mean, we had Sincerity running right into a brick wall when it came to that, and a couple of teams had that same experience. So, yeah, definitely well played, but Influence Rage, I mean, they have to take the cake for that one. They managed to come back from a difficult situation where the blue zone was pushing up against them, forcing them forward. They still managed to win those fights just. And, I mean, look at those kills coming out for Influence Rage. Really well played there.
Yeah, definitely a really strong match for them. And of course, the players from Not Gaming also doing a pretty decent effort there, putting in a strong amount of kills as well. As you can see, they finished off on 7 kills. So things looking much better on Sanhok, but of course, the map kind of forces that aggression to come in. So the big show is going to come in, especially when we move into Miramar. It's a much bigger map, so the teams really need to play their angles much better then.
I was really hoping that we would get some more aggressive play. We did have a promise in the beginning with 2 teams engaging right at the beginning of the map, and then it went back into the strategic secure position and then battled it out. But that does give us a lot of action at the end of the games, which we do like as well, and which is entertaining to the fans as well. Let's take a look at the updated standings for the gameplay for today.
Yeah, let's get into it. Here we are. Influence Rage are going to be sitting at the top with 15 placements and 15 kills apiece, 30 points just for this one game. And this is what I'm saying. This is what we were sort of alluding to earlier on when we were talking about this. 15 kills, that's a free chicken dinner. These guys effectively picked up 2 chicken dinners here in one single game, and that is absolutely huge. Yeah, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. So, of course, Not Gaming coming in at second place with 19 points. We've got G3 Temper bringing up third place with 14. Immortalz in that 4th spot with 12. Zero Tolerance Skills with 10 points in 5th. Outsiders Official in 6th with 7. 4KT and BBC with 5 points apiece in 7th and 8th, respectively. So, yeah, I mean, you can really see the difference that kills make here.
Yeah, really brings in quite a bit of a change. And of course, now we're about to move into that second page to see where the teams finish. And we've got the players from NFxUNIQUE finishing up in 9th on 5 points. The Young Thunders finishing in 10th place there on 2. The Citizens Gaming team also finishing on 2 points in 11th place. Then we've got the players there from Rainbow 6, Madagascar finishing in 12th place, also sitting on 2 points. We've got Sincerity in 13th with 1. And then, of course, Rain from Hell and the Euphoric Gods getting sent back empty-handed in 14th and 15th place. So a really trying match here, but of course, you know, that is kind of the Sanhok map. So definitely looking forward to see exactly what we'll be getting on our Miramar map once we make our way into that.
I'm curious to see who the MVP for today is, and that is Influence Rage Africa's Hainsley with 7 kills, our MVP for match 2. Now, the action is there. Miramar is an exciting map with different tactics that need to be employed to get your winner chicken dinner. And myself, Patchy, and DK will be right back after this break to give you the action from our final game for the weekend. Welcome back to the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Nodwing Gaming. This is the PUBG tournament. We have had two amazing games earlier on, but I didn't watch them alone. I watched them with two amazing people, Patchy and DK, who brought you the blow-by-blow action of what happened in those two matches. Up next, we have our next map, which is Miramar. But first of all, let's take a look very quickly at what the leaderboard for the last game looked like.
Yeah, let's hop right into it. It's going to be Influence Rage Africa sitting on the top with 30 points, of course, in that #1 spot from game 2. As we mentioned, doubling their chicken dinner with those kills, looking very, very spicy. Not Gaming in that second position, followed closely by G3 Temper in third. And that's obviously a team that every time we move on into that Miramar map, is a team that comes up into the conversation about who might just be taking our third and final map here this evening.
Well, today, to be honest, looking at this leaderboard, I'm happy to see a lot of the teams that were down in the overall standings realizing that they needed to put us some points on the board. Now, DK, going into Miramar, obviously we do know that it's a much bigger map, much wider spaces. There's a lot of long-range battles that are going to be going on. But look, what are the teams? Which teams need to step up to definitely? I mean, apart from Citizens Gaming, we know that a few teams need to step up in this match so that they don't fall too far behind.
Well, yeah, guys. So aside from Citizens, who are currently sitting in 25th place, we need the players there from Rainbow Six Madagascar also to bring their A game in this Miramar, as well as the players there from Young Thunder, because we see the players from Rainbow Six, they're down in 27th place, and of course Young Thunder, they're sitting in 24th place, so they're just out of that relegation spot. But of course, ideally, we would want to see the teams try and move further up that leaderboard to get, to stay as clear, as far away from that relegation spot as they possibly could. So definitely going to be looking towards Rainbow Citizens, Young Thunder, and of course the players then from the Euphoric Gods, as they are the teams that we have in this lobby that are placed a little bit lower on that overall standings. So this would be their opportunity then to come and acquire those points and improve their overall standings on the leaderboard.
Now, I know a lot of these teams and their captains and their strategists thinking we've got a lot of time, there are a lot more games to play before we decide who moves on to the next phase. But I'm here to tell you right now that you do not have as much time as you think, because teams are putting up points on this leaderboard and making it more difficult for you to grab your place in the next phase of the tournament. So right now is the time to bring your A game. As a matter of fact, you should bring your A game every single game. I'm hoping today that G3 Tampa can show me that they have that consistency on the Miramar map. For me, that would make an exciting watch for this tournament, because every time Miramar comes up, we're going to be looking forward to G3 Tampa showing what they can do. The guys from Slime 4KT, who have obviously had a dominating effect, have won a few tournaments around the globe, but need to show the consistency, because it's one thing to win a tournament or to win something around the globe, but consistency is key, and we're hoping for some consistency tonight. As much as we do like consistency, Patchy, we do like a few upsets, don't we?
Oh yeah, of course we do. We love upsets. I mean, it's always great to have like an established setup where we have, these are the teams that do well, this is what happens here, and sort of get that baseline going. But it's really nice to see a team actually shake it up and be like, all right, you know what, we can actually make something happen here. We can challenge the status quo. We can make a little bit of an upset, as you say. So yeah, it's always lovely to see that. So hopefully we'll see some teams stepping up here. Otherwise, it might just be a bit of a rinse and repeat for teams like G3 and 4KT, for instance.
Well, cheers for challenging the status quo as we move into more. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you in the always capable hands of DK and Patchy. See you after the final match for this weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sid. Heading into our third and final map for the evening. It is, of course, Miramar that we're going to be finding ourselves in, with a north to south zone ending in, or sorry, flight path, should I say, ending just toward a prison there. I don't expect we'll see anyone dropping in that particular location, although we did see a couple in previous weeks, so that's always been fun and exciting. But I think for the time being, we'll see some standard drops coming through from all the teams, making use of that very, very large map that we have here in Miramar. Now, from what we've been seeing, I mean, we suspect that maybe the game will play out slowly, but I'm hoping that we have some of those early skirmishes to come through. And I mean, if we do have that, if we see a couple of those things coming through, we could definitely see the game change up just a little bit. I mean, G3, they're right in the center of things. Maybe, just maybe, a team will have the courage to step up and challenge them. Of course, that zone heading off towards the east, so we will have to get a couple of rotations. And there it is, actually, Sincerity hitting that island all the way to the south. Kudos to you, good friends.
So that's definitely an interesting position to be dropping in, as they've got a fairly safe passage back into the zone, especially along the southern coast, to rotate on into that region. So yeah, I'm going to be looking to see how they're going to rotate out and where they're going to choose to go to. But of course, as we now look over towards the players here from Influence Rage, again, we're going to be looking to see how they're going to take on this match. Where we'll see them place themselves. Of course, now they're moving up in towards Al Azhar, potentially to start their looting phase. And the interesting thing about Miramar is, like, if you choose a looting spot that is quite far from that zone, you really need to know what you're doing to get through that looting phase and find a decent setup within that next zone again, because a lot of times we see waiting a little bit too long for that initial rotation, and then of course getting picked up by the blue zone. So that is a bit of a rip when that starts to happen. So definitely looking to see whether or not the teams will try to stay ahead of that blue and find a strong anchor point to secure themselves in the next coming phase. But of course now we see the players here from Rain from Hell making their loot going through their loot phase rather, up in the northern reaches. So definitely a few interesting angles. But of course, we wait to see how the teams are going to play this one.
Yeah, so of course, as always, when it comes to Miramar, those long angles always come in to the equation. We've got our favorite guy, right up on the top of this one, just belting out a couple of those shots down towards poor old Terry, sitting inside that gas station, just trying to get himself a burger, you know, man. Always just trying to get himself a burger and always just gets interrupted, man. I hate it when somebody interrupts me while I'm trying to grab a burger at the gas station, DK. It's the worst. Don't you hate it?
You mean a pie?
Yeah, well, oh yeah, pie and chips at the gas station. I hate it when people just shoot at me when I'm trying to get that pie and chips.
Oh, especially when they put shots into your vehicle like that. I mean, it's so close to blowing up. I mean, Orisa just causing the chaos there, tapping away quite steadily into the side of the players from NFxUNIQUE. So Terry in not a terrible spot just yet, but it could of course turn into that, depending on how the players here from the outsiders decide to push in, whether or not they're going to get aggressive and full send into this angle. Of course, I think a bit of an aggressive full send right now would be a bit of a foolish play to make, but definitely, you know, they look to play this to their advantage, as they've got a very spread angle around the two remaining players, two players rather, here from NFxUNIQUE. So it could work out in their favor. As you can see, Orisa now, of course, starting to get closer and closer. So definitely hoping to see those points being picked up by the outsiders.
Yeah, look at this. Zooming in the outsiders of with the overwatch of Orisa on the hill. The rest of the outsiders have just zoomed on up there to finish the job. Down goes Terry, has gotten one at least, but the immediate thirst comes through, and FaZe not in the greatest position there. He is pretty much by his lonesome. Outsiders have surrounded him completely. The res comes through from Sheki, and so that's pretty much done and dusted. From picking up burgers at the gas station to getting a ruined set of paint on your brand new vehicle, the NF team has found themselves in a bit of a tough spot. FaZe sitting at the back here trying to keep himself alive for the time being as the outsiders put the pressure on, but I think this might be done and dusted for FaZe. There is basically no way that I see FaZe getting out of this spot unless some miracle shots come through for him and he just lands those heads and somehow gets a magical team wipe onto the outsiders here, which I don't suspect is going to happen.
Yeah, and of course the rest of the players there from NFxUNIQUE still just holding off. Not exactly sure where they are, but FaZe now getting forced, playing his hand as he puts that first shot into the safety. Up comes down he goes. Beautiful shooting coming in there from FaZe. Really good defensive play though. Now we look to see whether or not FaZe will be able to pick up the squad wipe against the outsiders. I mean, doesn't seem too phased by the fact that he is the only player for his team right here. I mean, completely separated from the rest of his squad. And the outsiders, they've now all descended onto this fuel station. And I mean, Orisa and Hounds still holding that angle. We got R, of course, now just there alongside FaZe. But here comes the cavalry just rotating in, as we can see Keish and Zist now quickly rushing on up. So definitely an interesting point of contention for these two teams. But now, FaZe still looking very comfortable. Oh, the shots comes in from Keish, picks up Hound in the process, and now it's now up to Orisa. Oh, picks up the shot on FaZe. What a nice play, of course. Now, outsiders not out of the woods just yet, as we see Zist now just comes crashing into the side there. Of course, Orisa quickly trying to recover some additional health on the players from NFxUNIQUE, or rather what is left of them. Out comes the mollies. There's Zist finding a few shots coming in. Oh, Orisa picks up. Confirm, let's see now, will he be able to get it? Oh, Zist gets it. Where's Keish? All right, Keish, he's right there, he's right there. Oh, Orisa so low. Keish following through and picks up the squad by beautiful play coming in there for NFxUNIQUE.
What a chess game that we've just witnessed here, all instigated by FaZe. Legendary play behind that countertop. Just biding the time, gets 2 knocks. That's insane. Gets 2 knocks, stays alive, was so close to getting that third. If they had actually just followed through that one, they might have just picked that one up. But he knew the rest of his team was on the way. It just eventually goes down towards the end as he gets pushed by the outsiders. But then the rest of the cavalry arrived, and they just played right on back. It was a give and take right there. Very, very nice to witness. And I want to see a whole lot more of that moving forward in this tournament, man. That is just lovely to see. It's always fun. So yeah, some good stuff coming out there from NFxUNIQUE, and of course the outsiders as well, putting in a little bit of good work, although of course not coming out victorious at the end of that one. As you can see, the zone has moved slightly more towards the east this time around. Some shots over across towards the Not Gaming squad as they rotate around. Almost gets taken out of the darkness with some track in there. Not able to finish off the kill, so very low, but not dead just yet. So Jaeger's going to make it to safety, but all the teams moving on in across that line, getting ready to take on the next phase of the game. As of course we move into the second set of zones here. And Jaeger going to find himself with the blue zone, just tickling his health bar for the time being, although it's not going to do all that much damage, thankfully, just yet. But yeah, I'm hoping we see a couple more fights break out here.
I mean, Jaeger now just mastering the art there of healing up in the blue zone. Unfortunately, it's only the first phase, so nothing too much to worry about just yet. We've got a Neon there from Rain from Hell also now just rotating on through. So definitely Darkness in a good position here on towards Jaeger. But of course, both these players need to start thinking of how they're going to try and get back up in towards that zone, as they now have 2 kilometers to cover to make it all the way back in. And this is that blue zone rotations that I was talking about not too long ago. So definitely quite curious to see exactly how Darkness is going to try and get out of that one. But of course, that zone shifting once again over towards the eastern side. Definitely an interesting region of the map for the teams to find themselves in. So a few advantageous rotations can come from this, especially if they move in and around that spot near La Bendita. So yeah, we'll see where the teams go. Even minus Generales could be a good position to take up for the time being, as we have a very open center zone. So I don't expect that we're going to be seeing any teams necessarily rotating into center zone just yet.
Yeah, at the moment we've just got those streams of teams moving in from the outskirts and heading in towards that zone, getting themselves safe as we move into zone number 2. Team's going to be crossing that threshold. Darkness going for that airtime. Doesn't go for the flip, though. Feels bad, man. Should have gone for that sweet kick flip, 180, 360 no-scope spin on the bike there. That would have really just given us something to look at. But he's going to get some sweet airtime, though, as he gets some lack of flips up in there. Now, moving forward, it is going to be G3 getting themselves up in there. The rotation's coming through as they move forward as a team, getting some shots through at the back of that one, as they are getting peppered from behind. A couple of choice shots there from our friends over at NF. We'll see if they can land any more, though. For the time being, it's only been a couple of exchanged shots, nothing more, no extra commitment just yet. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Oh, it's going to be in Sleepy putting those shots in, really giving G3 a bit of a tough time there.
Yeah, and expecting a few more tough times for the teams. As you can see, the players there from Influence Rage now slowly moving up as well. Mercury keeping a watchful eye. This also is a fairly strong compound for Influence to be holding. I mean, even the one where we see G3 in, it's not one of the worst compounds to be in. It's a nice angle. It is a more centralized in that zone, so it could be quite beneficial as that zone, of course, now keeps on moving onwards. So definitely looking to see whether or not they'll be able to secure this and hold on to that angle. As you can see, Mercury now just regrouping, recalculating the decisions there, and then, of course, falling back into the warehouse just to make sure that everything is good and sorted. But now, we look to see where the remaining teams are going to try and rotate into. As we see the Citizens now caught on that far eastern side of the coastline. As we know, it is in zone, but of course, we're about to see where the next phase is going to be taking us. So definitely, again, expecting some interesting rotations, especially if that zone kind of stays on this eastern side of the map, as we have quite a few more teams left to try and squeeze on in. There is quite a lot of space still remaining, as we see the players here also now from Sincerity making their rotations up in from the south, exactly as expected. But of course, now this is going to be the point where we see how far up these teams are going to try and push in anticipation of that zone.
Yeah, Sincerity making that rotation coming on through. As you do, Citizens hold up here inside this compound, just looting it up as they move through the rest of them. We'll have a look and see if they run into any trouble. For the time being, they are sitting quite happily, and that is, of course, off the back of their drop, which was all the way down in that southern island. So they've actually had a free passage all the way to the top now. Of course, the Citizens are up ahead of them, but they could potentially run into a bit of trouble there, so maybe we'll see a skirmish break out down in that position. For the rest of the teams, they are moving up into that zone, getting themselves situated. As you mentioned, of course, getting some good compound control there and some nice angles to work with moving into the next zone as we are in number 3, moving forward. So we are heading in towards the mid-game, and it's actually going to be on Thunder putting some hits in towards G3, giving them a tough time. As you said, the tough times keep rolling for G3 at the time being. Building going to put some lovely shots in reply, though. So it is nothing gained for free at this point as G3 make their way on up, putting a little bit of pressure on the young Thundercats up in this compound here. Just like checking to see if they're going to be able to retain this position.
Yeah, and of course, now with the addition of the players there from the Euphoric Gods just positioned over towards that western side, it's definitely going to be a tough angle for the G3 team to hold, as Young Thunder are now just sending up that barrage of Utils. And of course, their numbers are still looking very, very strong on the side of Young Thunder. But G3, oh, down they go. The finishing blow finds its way on through. As we can see, Influence Rage, Hainsley actually being the one to find that nail into the coffin. But now the teams are still just trying to find their positions now within the zone. A strong angle there from the players from Influence Rage, but of course now the Citizens down in the south alongside the team here from Sincerity. Things are definitely going to start up, especially for the Citizens, as we have that full squad of Sincerity now trying to push in from the south here.
Yeah. Sincerity now pushing up, as you said, trying to get a little bit of ground, trying to cover it. Citizens going to have to try and find something in response, going to have to put up the Bastion. Potato going to be the first one to do that. Muffin goes down, and he's looking for a little bit more as those shots do come on in the meantime. Immortalz actually putting them into range, so there are a couple of skirmishes breaking out here and there, but Sincerity, they have made it across that line for the time being, so they are in the clear as things go. Now here comes the battle between the Immortalz and Rain. It's Shylock putting the shots in darkness right up ahead of him. This bush providing nothing but a bit of visible cover here. The smokes, of course, coming down to obscure that even more. Shots coming through in towards the Immortalz. Lots and lots of damage. There's a bit of gatekeeping happening here as the Immortalz try and make their way up into that zone, and it's just punishment from the for all angles, really. And right up ahead of them, of course, Shylock just giving them a bit of a tough time. As soon as they pass that threshold, he's going to be there to respond, but it's the Molly jumping out of the way, and that might just be the final nail in his coffin. It's going to burn him straight under from out of that bush, and he's just absolutely hammered. Darkness going to find him, spot him out, take him down. A really well-placed Molotov coming in there to just set the fire right underneath him and flush him out of that bush. Really, really well done for that regard. And of course, we've got Influence Rage right up here. They continue to put those shots on across the Immortalz right up ahead of them. You can see the laser beams definitely making that evident. So far, so good for these teams. 12 of them still remaining, 44 players left alive as we move into clear mid-game, 4 zones deep, moving in towards that end game. You can see Impala is the place to be. That's where the zone has decided to come down here as the teams start to stream in from all their positions and once again look for a spot where they can hold up.
This is going to be an exceptionally difficult zone to be fighting in. Just looking at the terrain in and around Impala, it's going to be quite the challenging spot for all these teams to try and squeeze on into. 12 teams now left to move up into this next phase. And of course, you hear from Influence trying to get those shots. The Citizens now rushing up onto the side of Sincerity. Here we go. The shots flies in. Sneak gets picked on up. But of course, Sincerity not yet, as we got Silence holding up in towards the south, but now the players here from the Immortalz, as you can see, Jeffbod moving on up, finding a quick few shots into the side there of Influence Rage, but Sleepy returning the favor in towards Jeff, now picking up that quick knock. But we see Rick here from Citizens now venturing a little bit further down south, looking to set himself up to pick up that shot on towards Silence. But of course, now here we go. Umar quickly going in for on his teammates, and of course the pressure still continuing down in the south, as we can see Silent still trying everything at his disposal to pick up those heads onto the side of the Citizens, but rather deciding to disengage and potentially trying to rotate around into a stronger angle a little bit further away. But it's definitely going to be super tricky as we have that blue zone now starting to close on in, and you can see all the casualties now starting to line up in that kill feed. Of course, the players here from Zero Tolerance keeping a very watchful eye to showing that trigger discipline and not engaging just yet, waiting for the Citizens to move a little bit closer. As you can see, Rick now right in the ideal spot there for Hates and team to find their heads across. And this is where things get pretty tough for the Citizens, as they've got so many teams positioned in the nearby vicinity that they are having to come up with clever ways to try and rotate on through.
Yeah, Hate's putting a couple of shots in, doing a little bit of damage, and we're going to have a look and see if the teams can make that rotation up on in. The Citizens off in the distance here. You can see they're a little bit split up, could maybe get some shots in, but they need to be careful here. Blue zone is at their back, but for the time being, they are safe. Zero Tolerance hold up here in the compound, giving them a little bit of defense up against the Young Thunder and, of course, NFxUNIQUE, which have a little bit of a height advantage. Here on the other side, of course, we've got lots of teams just poised towards one another. Cage putting those mini 14 shots in towards Umar, Not Gaming Squad, right up ahead of the Young Thundercats. Of course, we have, oh, there's the crosshair train towards Zeus, but not going to take the shot, and he's going to run away. So a little bit of a missed opportunity there, but you can't get them all. Rainbow Six, of course, hold up in the compound as well. Everyone trying to find their little slice of heaven, but for how long is it going to last is the question. It can't last forever, and of course, with that blue zone moving on in, it's about to close up, and we're going to get that next zone rotation. Cage continuing to put those mini 14 shots in. The Citizens taking a little bit of damage here as Potato now putting the shots through, but is going to get taken down in response. Silent putting in some great shots in. So really nice down coming through there. Sincerity now moving on through to try and get themselves into that zone. The Citizens finding themselves in a little bit of a tough spot, but they do have the upper hand as they are inside the zone for the moment.
Oh man, it is going to be super challenging. Still 12 teams, such a tiny zone. Of course, the Citizens down the south here trying to hold on. We see Silent still just trying to make it through and move up in towards that zone to secure their spot in the placements. But here we go now, the players from the Euphoric Gods keeping a watchful eye on the team there from Not Gaming. As you can see them just lined up on the edge, all still trying to squeeze on in, trying to find their best approach in towards that zone. As we can see the zone just shifting down towards the southern end. The blue zone about to start closing on up. The Rainbow Six Madagascar players also needing to rotate on in. So this is where it's going to get pretty tough and hairy. Everyone needs to rotate down from the north back in towards the south. A beautiful shift there from the zone, but this is going to force the hands for so many of these players as they are all now put in a very vulnerable position.
Yeah, definitely in a very vulnerable position here. A lot of teams struggling to get themselves up. Those rotations just coming through in desperation as they try and make it across those lines. You can see the amount of players jamming themselves in to the zone. 10 teams, 30 players trying to cram themselves into this absolutely minuscule space. The shot's coming through. Zeus putting them in, but he will get taken down for luck and hit the deck as well. Everyone is just feeling the pain at the moment as they try and push on in. Not Gaming will be putting some shots across, getting replied to by the Euphoric Gods, BBC crowded here behind the smokes, trying to keep themselves alive. Sinister doing some really good work with that rifle there, just putting them in. The Young Thundercats still alive and in pole position here at the top of the hill. A little bit of an advantage behind this bit of cover. Not much to work with, but it is something as the teams now start to rotate on in. And things are definitely looking that much more difficult here. Rainbow Six Madagascar are going to be moving up right ahead of them. We got Zero Tolerance skills and, of course, NFxUNIQUE. And they're going to have to find some prime shots coming through there. Oh, speaking of prime, almost gets taken down there. A few stray third-party shots. And, in fact, it's just how many party shots are in front of them right now. It's just a party at this point. It's a party. All of the shots going absolutely everywhere. Everyone trying to cram themselves into that zone. You can see Rainbow Six barely being able to make it across that line, and everyone is struggling. 4KT going to be taking quite a lot of damage from Silent, as Sincerity now pushing through. 9 teams alive, man. This is looking absolutely insane. The zone is, the perimeter is just crammed full of teams.
Man, this is like a nine party, if you want to call it that. We got 9 teams still remaining, 23 players still alive, and everyone spread out very, very thinly across the zone. As you can see, the Citizens and the players there from NFxUNIQUE held up in it towards that southwestern side. 4KT right up ahead of them. So you've got Aimer and Pronto now just trying to hold the fort there as they wait for their entry up in towards the zone, trying to make the best possible play. BBC, of course, now just gatekeeping them ever so slightly. So it is going to be quite a bit of a challenge to try and squeeze on in. But here we go. Aimer now setting up a quick nade, finds the hits in towards Lord. Beautiful placement there, but of course now we'll be able to pick up the next views. We've got Falak and Andres. Sorry, that's Aimless right there alongside them. Of course, Falak gets picked up by another nade. So really, really good utilizations coming in here from Aimer. But of course now there's one player remaining for BBC. So pretty strong play from 4KT so far. Will they be able to secure that last kill and pick up BBC? Yes, they do. And of course the shots continue onwards. You can see the players now coming in there from Rainbow Six. Oh, the heads flying right up in towards them. Some really interesting shots coming in as we've all these players, all these teams so close together and not a lot of movement space remaining for these teams.
What a legendary performance coming out of Aimer there. Unfortunately, he does get taken down, but man alive, keeping himself alive for that long, getting all those shots and kills in as he was exposed on the road without any cover. That's nuts. And that is just the level that these guys have to contend with at this point. 0 cover, exposed on the road. Everything is just coming down to this, to the gunfights, to the shots, the explosions going absolutely nuts. Smoke, of course, not going to stop the shots as they come on. Infex very low on HP, gonna have to try and res up the shots, absolutely going everywhere. The Molotovs as well, Citizens putting the heat, turning it up, and that is gonna just cook them some extra dinner, just preparing it for the chicken that they could potentially take in this absolute chaos that's happening right now. Who's gonna come out on top? Absolutely no one knows. Young Thunder in a pretty decent position for the time being. We've got Zero Tolerance moving up as well. Of course, you can see Hate just looking into the surrounding area to see who's going to be the next one to try and peek, to try and make something happen. The nades are flying, and Vortex puts in a solid one on towards Rainbow Six. Definitely some hurt coming in that direction. Vortex taking a little bit of damage from Prime there, but is just going to send another nade right in that direction. This is what we want to see. These are the battles coming through, and here's Illusion to chime in. Just going to be a thorn in the side of Zero Tolerance there as he picks that one up. 6 teams, 8 players left remaining here, and this zone about to get that much smaller. It is looking so tiny at this point. I mean, there is no space left. It is this is definitely going to force the players into some terrible positions here, and they've got very little to work with. I mean, they're very much alone, but here it comes. Hates gets caught out. Silent once again going to be picking up another kill as he comes up right over the crest, and in a little bit of a surprising fashion there. Hate's not prepared for it. He gets taken down. 5 teams, 7 players left remaining here, and things looking very difficult here, except for the Young Thundercats, who seem to have the numbers advantage for the time being.
Yeah, they definitely do have the numbers advantage, but of course now we wait to see exactly how the other opposing teams, the 4 remaining teams, are going to try and play this. This, of course, being 4 solos. As you can see, we got Citizens positioned down in towards the south. We got Rainbow Six Prime up in the north, but here we go. Adonis now moving in towards Rick. Rick picks up the knock, though. Yeah, come on. They're going to try and push. Silence sneaks in from the side, picks up the head on towards Rick. Superior now also getting knocked on out. So Donis and Superior both knocked out. Illusion up against Prime up in the north. Definitely a tricky position to play in as the blue zone now starts closing in, forcing the teams back down in towards the western side of the zone. But here we go. They're try and make their way on through. Silent now trying to rotate up, potentially trying to pick up that kill, but Illusion finds the shot in towards Prime, sending the players from Rainbow Six back into the lobby. 3 teams now remain. It is the players from the Euphoric Gods, Sincerity, who is up against the players from Young Thunder. So now it is a 1v1v1. Everybody now just trying to stay hidden for as long as they possibly can. But of course, now here we go. Silent striking into the side there of Illusion. Comes rushing up, spots the body under the vehicle. Going to try and rotate on through, but Illusion rotates in. Silent picks up yet another kill, making it 6 now for the side of Sincerity. Of course, now Sinister trying to move up here for the players of the Euphoric Gods. Let's see, will he be able to clutch this one out? Silent so low on health, and he picks it up. Easy chicken dinner win there for the players from Euphoric Gods, and that is their second chicken of the day.
Yeah, what a crazy end to the night of games here. I mean, that was nuts. That final zone was looking like an arena of death and doom. Young Thundercats with a great position in the middle of zone and with the numbers advantage, not able to press it all the way to the end. So they did pick up some kills, but they landed in third. Of course, Sincerity picking up that second place with 6. And then right at the top, of course, as you mentioned, it's the Euphoric Gods once again grabbing that chicken, although not very many consolation prizes. They got 9 kills, but almost all of them on the back of Sinister, doing the most for that team, picking up some serious points. So wow, what a bunch of chaos, but some seriously hard fighting being done all across the board.
Yeah, that was a tough one. A really really trying zone that we have there. Some interesting shifts as well.
The action was top notch. I'm not even gonna lie. To be fair, for the first time watching Citizens Gaming, I was actually very impressed with the games. I think Rick did an amazing job being a rat, running around after he lost all his teammates and racking up a few kills there. But looking at the guys from Sinister was very, very ingenious. He went in there and literally with 8 kills, gave his team a winner chicken dinner and put up some amazing points on the boards. Also great to see Young Thundercats coming in with a high position because they also needed that to grab up the leaderboard. Now let's take a quick look at the scoreboard for this particular match.
Yeah, let's jump into that scoreboard and take a look at Euphoric Gods sitting on the top there. 15 placement points plus the 9 kills, giving them the 24. I'm not sure if that was actually entirely correct. I saw a lot of zeros there, but
yeah, I was like, what did I miss? I was like, oh, Citizens is up there. Woo, I'll take it. Yeah, while the scoreboard is being fixed, it's been a really great 3 games. We're still updating the scores. We just rushed into that. That was my bad, totally. But guys, the weekend of PUBG, we've seen some amazing matches today, culminating the end of week 2 at the Umzansi Esports Season 3. Obviously, week 3 coming up next Friday. What are we looking? I mean, describe this final game though, because it definitely has some heavy impact on the overall leaderboard. I think a lot of people that were in the bottom today did put up some great showing to get themselves up. What do you think, DK?
Well, we really had some strong showings coming in from the teams, as you mentioned, finding themselves a little bit on that lower end of the overall standings, really starting to prove themselves, bringing in those performances, bringing in those skills, and of course starting to rake in those points. So moving into this last match that we just saw, this final zone was especially challenging. Just looking at the position on the map of where it was, the terrain in which the teams had to play, some absolutely insane stuff, but we saw some really well-placed nades coming in from Aimer there from 4KT onto the side of BBC. But as we moved into that final zone, a whole bunch of stragglers left to fight it out, and that's where it kind of comes down to your reaction. And I wouldn't say as much gun skill, but it is more reaction, because if you are able to see a player faster, spot them out, and react to that, you definitely have that advantage. To a degree, yes, the gun skill probably comes into play there as well. But, I mean, some really, really quick wins, especially in those final few phases.
But also, I do have to say that I felt this match had a bit more aggression from the get-go. There's quite a bit of action right from the beginning, all throughout the match, which is contrary to what we've seen in different maps on Miramar. You know, and I think it was FaZe who had that amazing play in the room, using the wall to his advantage and getting those kills and eventually turning the tide. Because honestly, I thought his team was going to be tough. Patrick, what did you think about that play?
Yeah, that is probably my favorite play in the game. I absolutely love watching, especially when it's in a really difficult situation. I love watching players and teams manage a really tough situation and really having to think out of the box and really play to just, it's like pure instinct, like all of their reaction comes in, all of their instinct comes in. They have to really think about what's going on, and they just have to do it. They don't have a time to just step back and go, oh, maybe I should do this, maybe I should try that. They just have to go for it. They have to just hard commit to what they're doing, and it was beautiful to watch FaZe do that. I mean, just sitting there, getting in such a pickle. They was surrounded by players, and it was like, what to do now? And suddenly a player rushes in, FaZe pops up, gets the kill, immediately pops back down. The second player runs in shooting, can't find anyone. Up FaZe pops, gets another one. Down he goes again. Now he's got 2 downs, plus the rest of the team has to come and try and make something happen. And he baits that time out so long, waiting for his team to rotate in for the support. Eventually, of course, he does get taken down, but not before buying enough time for his team to come in and pick up the rest of the kills, mop them up. So yeah, a really fantastic play coming out there. Oh yes, and of course moving into the standings there. Which,
yeah, we have the standings. Yeah,
finally not jumping the gun this time around. We've got the standings here. Euphoric Gods, of course, sitting at the top there with those 24 points, followed by the Young Thundercats sitting in 18 points there in second place. Sincerity picking up that 3rd spot with 18 themselves. The Citizens Gaming there in 4th position with 12, and Rainbow 6 Madagascar with 12 as well in 5th place. Zero Tolerance Skills taking up the 6th spot with 9. NFxUNIQUE in 7 with 8 points, and the Immortalz going to be taking 8 spots with the 7 points that they have accumulated. So yeah, the standings there looking decent. The zeros, of course, coming up right at the bottom here, where we have G3 and Rain from Hell heading up the tail end of the leaderboard with 0 each. And we've actually got a nice 4-3-2-1 pattern here. 4KT, of course, in the 9th position. Influence Rage in 10. We've got Not Gaming in 11. Outsiders in 12. BBC in 13. So yeah, definitely some of the top performing teams in previous games not getting the scores that they want. And not only does that have the effect of moving some of the lower end teams a little bit higher on the overall standings, but it's a huge blow to teams like 4KT and G3, who are really trying to vie for that top spot. They're trying to get those top spots on the overall leaderboard, and they really have quite a decent accumulation of points, but that could slip out from underneath them if they continue to lose some of those wins and lose some of those points like they have today. And of course, moving into that MVP,
Sincerity. He impressed me. He was the one who actually took out Citizens Gaming.
Yeah.
And I have to give him props for that, because I watched him do it sneaky little from the back. But he did what he had to do for his team, racking up 8 kills and giving them those valuable points to get them up the leaderboard. Now, guys, it's been an amazing weekend of gaming. I am super excited about what we look forward to next weekend in the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. And haven't said this enough today, but I do need to tell everyone, if you are not following Northern Gaming Africa on all our socials, you need to do that now. It is Northern Gaming Africa, where we'll be keeping you up to date with all the action of everything esports in Africa. DK, Patchy, I'm super ready to see what the overall leaderboard looks like after today's games.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to get into that. And of course, as we move straight up into that, you can see the players there from Gamers Unite Nations or Gun holding on to that pole position on 141 points. G3 Temp, of course, sitting there in second place on 124. Slime 4KT holding on to third there with 115 points. Zero Tolerance in fourth on 104. The Immortalz in 5th place on 102 points. Then, of course, Sincerity up in 6th place on 93 points. Undisputed AE in 7th on 89. And Influence Rage up in 8th place on 87 points. So really looking a little bit tight on this first page.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it is looking very tight. And I mean, one stellar performance from any of those teams could absolutely change the entire landscape of that leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, teams, all of them looking forward to seeing what they'll be doing. As we can see now, the players here from Rain from Hell over in 9th place on 87 points. We've got the Euphoric Gods in 10th place. We got the Aphelion Apex team in 11th place on 72. The Natural Killers in 12th place there on 71 points. We got NFxUNIQUE sitting in 13th place on 69. We got the players from Lag Esports in 14th on 66. Not Gaming in 15th place on 64. And then, of course, the Young Thunder team in 16th place on 62 points. It's interesting to see chicken dinners even on this page of that leaderboard, but of course now we even see it on the third page. The Outsiders officials there in 17th place with their chicken dinner, grand total of 60 points. The Comfy Cartel in 18th on 58 points. BBC in 19th on 57. Spaza in 20th with 57 points as well. Ultra 6 and Drogons in 21st and 22nd on 54 points. Then, of course, we got Citizens Gaming and Pain Africa in 23rd and 24th with 51 points apiece. So definitely, it's starting to get there. It's starting to get there as we now just, of course, entered our halfway point of this first round. So definitely looking forward to seeing how these teams will be performing as we continue through the second half of our first round. And of course, these teams that we see on the last page, these are the teams that need to focus on their gameplay to increase those points and move themselves up the overall leaderboard. As we can see the players there from Rainbow Six Madagascar, of course, sitting in 25th place on 49 points. Black Clover in 26th place on 46 points. We got Fear in 27th on 39. We got Nibble Esports in 28th on 22 points. Toxic in 29th place with 20 points. And then, of course, Blank Legion in 30th on 10 points still.
Blank Legion throwing a lot of blanks there, but as we know, that particular page is the page that you do not want to be on in this particular tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited of all the action that we get. I say that a lot, but it's not a joke. You can testify about the action that happened today in all our 3 games. Next weekend is going to be more action coming from Nodwin Gaming Africa and the Umzansi Esports League. It's season 3. My name is Dr. Sid. I'm here with Pachi and DK, and we're going to be saying good night. Thank you guys so much. You've done an amazing job of casting and showing people what PUBG Mobile is about and the action that is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next Friday when we bring you more action from the hottest tournaments in Africa. My name is Dr. Sid, and I will see you next weekend.